My whole life they didn't want me
Taste the
to be safe.
motherfucking freedom.
You know what I'm saying? What you gonna do? Where
Get
you
kind
gonna
of
go?
crazy sometimes, you know what I'm
How
saying?
you
You
gonna
just
make
got
some
shit, I
money?
just
I mean,
push, you know what I'm saying? Me, the way I work is I keep operating because I never fail, you know what I'm saying? I fall, I pick myself back up, I keep going, you know what I'm saying? Time to march, fuck what happens, you know?
King's
You
Logic,
can't take me
Female
down.
D.
There's no force in
Hey,
this
yo,
world that
Juan,
can fucking cancel my
come on
energy.
up.
Fuck it,
Get
you
down
know?
here.
Let's go.
The key, what? I'm back. Already twisted, no need to introduce. Get lifted one line. Political rap, milk, killing cancer like pills. Pop the general, it's arsenic. Retarded to the flame. Go against the grain, feel the same numb pain. Fuck shots, grab the bottle. Getting hollow, run for cover like the day after tomorrow. You can say it's chill, life's cold, but keep it real. Undercover, lost the battle, but still won the war. Dark side of the force, mind trick, transform. Jedi John Connor, doing what you wanna. Puffin' nails, hydroponics, getting lost in the madness. Sustained at the level that you practice. On my own planet while I bring it back to Earth. Crashing like a comet and I'm coming feet first. Fuck that, already spent and it ain't no apple pie. Try to tell the truth when you live it in a lie.
What's up, and welcome back to another episode of Tills from the Chris, a mucosal melanoma survivor podcast. I'm your host, Chris White, mucosal melanoma survivor, thriver, and advocate. On today's podcast, I want to welcome a very good friend of mine. I've known this guy since I was a teenager, more than half my life. Please give a warm welcoming hand to my good friend, Mr. Mike Walker.
For me. Woo, got it.
Yeah, what up, Mike Walker? What's up, man? How you been, dude?
Doing good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for doing this with me. This is another episode of Tills from the Chris. One of the main reasons I wanted to bring you on, dude, is because you have known me since we were teenagers. You know, I was probably 17 or so, maybe, when we met, and so we knew each other in high school. We knew each other after high school. We've lived together. We've not lived together. You know what I'm saying? We still stayed in touch, you know, even after you moved out of state and this and that. But all my other folks that, you know, I've had to do all these calls and everything, bro, you know, they're all related so far in the world of melanoma directly, you know, either in the advocacy world and or as a patient or a survivor or a thriver or a caregiver or, you know, somebody in that realm so far. But you're one of my first, you know, friends who like just has known me for a real long time and has known me, you know, more for everything prior to my cancer diagnosis, you know, than afterwards. And so anyways, man, that way we can just kind of go back and forth and talk a little bit and, you know, kind of get some perspective on a lot of the things that, you know, have, they always say, you know, to know where you're going, you got to know where you've been, you know what I'm saying? So you can kind of, you know, comment on, you know, and share experience on all the priors to how we are where we're at today, my man, and stuff. So, and everything. So, but, anyways, walking a dog day. But, straight up, my man. So anyways, what I wanted to really ask, you know, and I think I probably asked you this before, dude, but in terms of, you know, my cancer story, you know, when I was asking, like, you know, how well can you tell it, or how much do you mean, do you know about it and everything? I mean, like, I want you to kind of share with me, you know, and everybody on and what you know about mucosal melanoma.
Well, I mean, my entire experience with my knowledge about it is purely through you. And I never knew really anything about it until, you know, you started sharing what happened and your experiences. And I really didn't know I've known people to deal with cancer scares and things like that, but honestly, you know, it's your situation was one of the most dire I've ever heard of. And I think that many people in general, you fall into that category really quick as one of the most wildest battles with cancer and comeback, and where you are now, where you were. That's, I mean, I'm still meeting people when the subject comes up and explaining to them about how I have a friend who this is what happened to them, and it blows pretty much everyone's mind when I tell them. They're like, what? Whoa, stage 4? It's like, oh my gosh, that's insane, and I think anybody who went through that would experience the kind of trauma like you did, and then I think react very closely and similarly to how you're reacting now, which is you got a stake in this game, in this battle, to combat this thing that nearly took your life and is trying to take the life of so many others, that nature chose you to kind of join the fight and be one of the bigger proponents here for human life. And nature just did that by selection. And so, you're here now, and I think spreading your experiences and the main message behind it is a super help for that community of people battling that similar fight. What I know about your story is that it's packed with twists and turns and suspense and close calls and, literally near-death experiences. And, you had no choice to go all in to fight it or to let it fight you and win. And I'm glad you did. And when, I go through hard things in my life and I'm like, yeah, this is rough, but it's not stage 4 cancer rough. It's not coming back from something like that, a near-death experience. And then I tell myself, that, man, if he can truck through the BS, then I can truck through some BS. And so really it's a story and about, just overcoming something that's trying to get you. And anybody can relate to that. Anybody can relate with something so burdensome on their life that they are going through the battle of a lifetime to overcome it. Literally a battle of a lifetime. And, you set that example day in, day out when you're out here on social media trying to figure out a new way to get the message across, to convey to audiences why it's important to take, check up seriously, why it's important to, like some of the campaigns say, get naked, go in and get naked and let the doctor make sure you're all right. You know what I mean? Because what the other option is? Well, you told me.
Go find out.
Yeah. You know what? I'm good. I don't. In fact, I think it would be insulting to go through what you went through, knowing the things now, and being like, Mike, why did you, take better precaution? I'm your buddy for life, and why did you have to go through what I went through? And I would find that insulting to you and your trials and tribulations. If I felt like I got wind and I just put it off, and I was like, I don't need to pay attention to that. I make whatever, the insurance, the doctor stuff, I'll get around to it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I would feel like that's just an insult to everything you went through. So, and then you being my closest personal friendship to someone battling that, I mean, that's when it opens. For someone who hasn't been through that, that's when it opens someone's eyes. When it was a good buddy, a good friend, a loved one, a relative or something, that's when someone who hasn't experienced the fight starts to be like, okay, that's what that world's like. Oh my gosh, it is not fun. It does not look like it. So the fact that you're out there after going through that battle is, I mean, that's what people need. This is a cutting edge battle of people versus nature. And we still, I mean, pharmaceutical companies are out there trying to do anything and everything under the sun to figure out how to do this and to combat this. And it's literally man's cutting edge war with nature. And it requires the latest technology, the latest knowledge, the latest understanding of circumstances for each individual. I mean, obviously it's a huge thing. If it was easy, it would already be solved. No one would be going
Right.
through this stuff. This is not an easy thing.
Yeah.
So from my standpoint, being someone who hasn't experienced, but on the sidelines, but seeing people suffer and then seeing a good friend suffer, it makes you think about a lot of stuff. It makes you think like I need to take other things in my own life seriously. It makes me think that, I need to not get so down on things if something's not going the way I want it to, because man, it could be a lot worse.
Dude,
and,
like a couple of, I don't know, what was it that kicked in a couple of years ago where you were like, I'm going to start running, and I remember seeing you on, posting about it all the time, but like out of left field, dude, you were like, I'm going to be Mike the Runner, and you were Mike the Runner. Like, where did all that come out of, dude? Because you were like, I'm getting healthy.
Yeah, the world was falling apart in 2020, right? And I know around that time you were.
I was finishing my clinical trial in January 2020.
It came from seeing things like that, and I remember during 2020, the playing field was leveled in a way for everybody being in the same, pushed back kind of situation. But then you were dealing on top of 2020, you were dealing with your battle at the same time and all that kind of stuff. So that's and I remember just being like, what the hell, man? It's like, everything's shut down and I've got a buddy who's going through hell, and see, I have no excuse not to. I've got my health. I literally have no excuse not to get out there and maximize my healthy potential. I mean, again, because it's like one of those things. It's like an insult to someone like you if I have the ability to get off my ass and go use what life gave me. And
I mean, you like had a complete like shift in like how you eat, like how you move, like what you do. I mean, it's a, like you said, it's a lifestyle, right? I mean, like it's a habit. It's your attitude, right?
It comes from a routine and I mean, a habit is a routine and a lifestyle and all that.
It's a good one. You can have good habits, you can have bad habits.
Right. It's an irony how I've had bad habits, but it's an irony how people with bad habits can still convert as long as they know they're trying to convert those bad habits into a good routine. That's essentially at the end of the day what you're trying to do. And that's when I finally started to do that. Another thing was, 40's getting closer, and I was like, I do not want to, I was always a little bigger, stuff like that. I had one of those parents that was like, watch out or you'll look like me, watch out. So when 40 was coming around.
So you had multiple motivations.
Multiple motivations, exactly. But all ones that I was like, I have no excuse not to do
what
this,
all right, what about it, like dietary, like in terms of like were you more conscious about like what you ate, where you ate it from, processed, not processed, all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, did you buy it off a shelf or did you buy it from
exactly. I tried to
were you more
stuff. So my philosophy there is first, before treats are treats, right? And fast food is great and it's still kind of food, but
I don't know.
My philosophy is
it's fast.
Before
That's
you
right.
get to eating that stuff,
it's fast.
You get to eating that stuff in your day, my new philosophy is make sure that I've eaten all the healthy things in the day first. Things that provide actual sustenance and nutrition and vitamins and things the body actually needs. I try to get those into my body first for the day. And then I'm like, okay, if you worked out and you're still craving something or still hungry, maybe we can squeeze that Whataburger in, later if it's not too late or anything. But if my body's asking for it, like you ran a bunch today, so you burned extra calories, but you already ate all your healthy food for the day. So all the nutrition that you really need is already in you, but you did burn a little extra and fat content is high density energy source. So if you do have the output and you've already put the right input into you for the day, then maybe you can get away with a burger, that kind of thing. So that's my philosophy now. Get all the good stuff into you for the day first, and then ask your body, can you handle it? Do you want the burger? Are you in the mood for it? That kind of thing. Did you take care of yourself today that you don't need all that stuff? You know,
like man, that is the definite thing that like I had a reset in a sense when I went through my clinical trial hospital stay, you know what I'm saying? Because during that stay, you know, they bring your immune system, you know, you spend a week on chemotherapy and it brings your immune system down to 0. And so when they put the TIL back in you, and then they give you your doses of IL-2, you know, I had 6 of those, and I think it was like every 8 hours, you know, it was kind of like it jumpstarts. So I tell people, it's like, man, imagine this, like, you know, they take one of your tumors, you know, and they go engineer it, and they take that same cell and then they multiply it, you know, and engineer it into the billions and stuff, to where it's like such a large army that whenever they go to put it back in your body, it's such an overwhelming army that like it goes after all those, you know, bad cells, you know, that went rogue and, you know, became, you know, mucosal melanoma, and it just like attacks it and eats it up and stuff until it's gone. And so I explain to people, I'm like, man, what your new TILs are, those are like little baby Pac-Man, you know what I'm saying? And they go up throughout your body, and they just like, you know, they find all the little cherries and the little dots and everything, you know, and they go throughout the maze of your body and everything, and they seek and destroy and stuff until it's gone. It's not like you know, like the cell, you know, the ones they're hiding and they're just waiting to, you know, to come back at a later time, you know, and this and that. I mean, like, they're gone. And so, like, you know, if they decide to just, you know, kind of pop up, there's like, it'll get overwhelmed and ran by your billions of TILs, because those stay in your body forever and stuff. And so, you know, they do that. And then IL-2, you know, those are just kind of like, you know, those are like, you know, giving everything, like, you know, like as they're in there, it gives them like just a booster. So imagine they're swimming along and all of a sudden it's like, you know, and it's like, you know, and they're, you know, it's taking your army, and then it's like, you know, and it's generating them to be like, all right, dudes, get ready to fight, dude, you're going to fight, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, and it basically builds them up to be like, you know, hyped up to be like, all right, let's go get them. And then they go throughout your body and they do their thing, you know what I'm saying? And so it's, you know, it's designed and it worked like so well and stuff. And so the best thing, I mean, over the last, it's now been, that was January 15th, you know, was when that went down. I got out of the hospital on January 20th, 2020. And so, but I remember watching, you know, and all the, right, you know, as the, you know, prior to the COVID thing starting, you know, oh man, you know, this is just, you know, this, I was like, this is looking intense. And then literally, you know, I had to travel for my follow-up scans, and then all that came to a halt, you know, when they, in March of 2020, when, you know, they shut it down. And I mean, and I had a birthday get together at my house with all my family, and that was kind of like the last time that, like, you know, it was kind of everybody there. But, you know, I was looking at pictures and stuff, you know, and it's like I had, you know, was barely starting to get my hair to grow back in and everything, and like all the white, you know, that was on my, you know, my head and my eyelashes and everything, is just my face. And it was just like I still looked kind of sick and everything. And, you know, the recovery from the chemo that I felt that I was on, or just all the treatment, you know, like that was kind of tough and rough over the next couple of months and everything. But, you know, I was gradually, you know, getting better and better, you know, and I ended up getting both of my eyes fixed, you know, because I had cataracts from all the treatment prior to the clinical trial that had led to uveitis, conjunctivitis. So I had cataracts, got both of those fixed, and it was like I had to go back to work, you know. It was also in a sense of like, if I go back to work, you know, it's showing myself, you know, and the cancer that, like, you didn't win, you know, and I'm back to what I was, you know, doing before you, and, you know, I kicked your ass and and stuff. And but it was also, you know, my other option, you know, was to COBRA my insurance, you know, and not go back to work. but I didn't really have like a game plan on how I was gonna, physically rehab myself to, when would be the healthy timeline, and mentally as well. I mean, it was COVID. I mean, like I couldn't see anybody. I was, I was allowed to go to work, but couldn't go to therapy in person. Like, not allowed to see anybody in person. I mean, I would see my mom because she was still my main caretaker that was always helping me with all my appointments. And so, it was like, she was literally like the one person I was allowed to, see and everything. And so, and all that. And I got my, my COVID vaccine and everything when it came out. It was, work was given like, a half day off or something, or, I mean, I don't know. I mean, but I was like, at the time I thought was like, after everything I've been through, I was like, man, I'm not scared of going and getting a shot. So I just went and got it, and I didn't have no effects and everything. But literally, man, since over the last 3.5 years, I've physically felt like I've gotten a lot better, but man, it's kind of been tough because it's like I woke, it's like I woke up from one nightmare, which was dealing with metastatic mucosal melanoma, but my new nightmare is like the recovery process, because I mean, there really wasn't a game plan that anybody had set, on how that looked and everything, because the odds were never really in my favor, you know what I mean? And so, I went back to work, you know what I'm saying? And I really wanted to kind of gradually, ease my way back in. I mean, I was real kind of nervous about it, dude. I mean, I had to like relearn how to drive, even though I had the cataract surgery, my eyes, I still had to go get steroid shots in both my eyes, quite often because of the inflammation. And until I eventually got one that lasts like every 3 years. But get the correct glasses prescription and everything. And so it was just
like I said, man, if I'm healthy enough to get out and go run, and then I have a friend that's going through something like that, boy, I better go
but
run.
So check this out. But I mean, looking back at it now, after everything, it was like, if I could do it all over again, man, I would have totally taken the time. I mean, I had just spent 18 months going through all of that, and I didn't, emotionally like, look into any of it, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was just Captain Positive, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was like all things, like, the attitude was like, nah, like, there's a hit out on me. This is an assassin, like, coming to get me. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the freaking, Terminator's out, you know what I'm saying? And like, you gotta go. I mean, it's like, it's an aggressive deal. I mean, like, you look it up on your social security, if you're going to apply for that, if it says you got mucosal melanoma, that's like at the top of the list. That's like, you know what I'm saying? Because I actually looked into it and I was like, man, I can't survive on that. I'm only 41 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, right, I'm just gonna have to figure out how to just live life without. But my whole purpose and passion for what I was doing, being in the, just working in the new home construction business and everything, and it was great, and stuff. But I mean, I had tried other careers prior to that, oil and gas, SAP, recruiting. Working through, Glen Eagles Country Club. And, I spent the majority of the time in and out of Glen Eagles Country Club, more or less because, I like the environment. I just like what I did. I wasn't really, I mean, when it came down to, the money thing, it was like, I wasn't living my life, and working there based on the money and stuff, and it was more of like, I enjoyed my time, being there and doing that. And it was like I was outside, I was moving around, it was good for me, you know what I mean? And so it was just like, the energy and stuff. And that's kind of what drew me to it. And so, but as you get older, obviously, I was wanting to, move to the next level in terms of being able to pay off debts and like, do more things and, travel more and, live my kind, so that's, I got into the home building thing and, it was a great experience and stuff, but returning, post cancer back to what I was doing, I mean, over a good, 2.5 year period or so, I mean, I realized that, the more I got into the advocacy and learning more about my own story, the more that I was just into, talking about my story, and I felt more comfortable about doing it. I was more passionate about that. And it was just, I wasn't into my passion for being in the new home buildings and going to work and living that life. You know what I'm saying? It was exhausting for me, to be honest, because, I would go work my butt off every day, and it was great. I was, moving around. I was getting great exercise, you know what I'm saying? But, you had the mental with the physical. And there was always trying to stay on top of things. And, these are people's homes, you know what I mean? Like, you want to make sure that, you build them on time and you build them with good quality. And I mean, it's an intensive thing and stuff. And between the two of them, you know what I'm saying? I was like, I was still going through this mental, thing. And so I wasn't getting the pleasure, the passion out of the new home construction world, by going to work and doing that like I was in the advocacy world, you know what I'm saying? And so it all came up to a point, a boiling point, for me. And, and I left the industry and then, just started to dig down on it. Was like, I had a goal, and it was like, I don't know how, I don't know, what, but it was like, I believe, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
that
if you have beliefs and you have a calling, which clearly you do.
It's like, dude, it's like, I'll go broke, trying to figure out how, which I am doing this, but I was like, man, like,
on the nature of such a subject, on the nature and note of such a subject, it's like, when you know clearly that you have something you believe in, because yes, go find someone and tell me that, like, go up to them and say that what you're doing is not like a calling of some sort. Yeah, I think you would be hard pressed to find someone that would tell you after hearing your story that, oh, that's not a calling, if there ever was one, But here's the thing: when you encounter people who have never tuned into their calling or even think like that, then they're not going to understand that, when what you're trying to achieve, or that vision, or what you feel inside you, they're only going to see some certain, near the surface kind of things regarding this. But I think it's important that someone like you, who's been through the entire maze of this thing from start to finish, to experimental trials, to the whole thing, just, you've been through all of it, some of the primary institutions, you've been there, that are on the forefront of fighting this thing, and you survived. That means your knowledge, that means your experience is valuable. That means, it would be a shame if you weren't out there sharing that. Because
I got, literally, like, my passion is literally to do one thing, and that's to share my story, to as many people as I can. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had a goal to, myself, because when I got diagnosed, you go to look up mucosal melanoma or anorectal mucosal melanoma. I think my specific diagnosis was metastatic malignant mucosal, melanoma. And it was just like, this was 2018. So everything was just like super negative. It was outdated. There wasn't a lot, but I kept on searching for, 36-year-old, anorectal mucosal melanoma survivors, and trying to get stories about people that were diagnosed at 36 with what looked like a hemorrhoid, and then also, grew into their lymph node, and, this and that, and started going through treatment and trying to figure out. I mean, I think the only person that was near around my age at the time was maybe J.B. Ward, which is a few years younger than me, and also got diagnosed a few years before me and everything. But she, I mean, I could find a video, so it was like, there was like what, but there was no men that had anorectal. She had, and so I was like, there's got to be one, and it was like, man, if I make it, through, I'm going to be, there's, when people go to look up, if they are young, you know what I'm saying? And even if they're not young, but I mean, like, if there is anybody, that's in their 30s, you know what I'm saying? I'm 41 now, but it was like, it can go that young. Cause when you look it up, it says the average age is 60 something. I mean, there's something like that, like, or older, You know what I mean? And so my main thing was like, oh, I thought it was a hemorrhoid and I can just put some cream on, I'll figure it out later. And it didn't bother me or nothing, you know what I'm saying? When I'd go to wipe it, you know what I'm saying? Nothing. I was on my ski trip because I was building models, you know what I'm saying, at the time at work. And I worked real hard to get, you know, one done. I had 2 models and I had to get, you know, one done. Or something. I was working on a date and everything because I was going on this trip. You know, I was like, man, I gotta go. I'm gonna need the break. You know, and I was going with Steven and stuff, and I was like, man, I were talking to him while I was sitting on the lift. You know, telling him I was like, oh man, you know, this hemorrhoid. You know what I'm saying, and stuff like it was kind of, you know. And I still to that point, you know, I didn't get it looked at, but then it was, you know, after that when I got back and everything, you know, when that lymph node started growing in my groin, and it was like, you know, it was like this, you know, first it was like I thought it was an ingrown hair, you know, and then before I knew it, it grew like out of control. And so, you know, I was like, that's when I was starting to get figured out what was going on, you know. Oh, you gotta, you know, and they essentially,
no evidence.
You know what I'm saying? For me, I was like, man, by that time it was like, you know, like months had passed, you know what I'm saying? Like when it first popped up, you know, on the rim of my rectum, that's when I should have went and been like, hey, dude, you know, I went to the doctor and been like, a proctologist or somebody, I mean, like, you know, well, you know, and been like, what's this? Because by the time I got to the proctologist, his first thing was like, what's your pathology from, you know, the surgery, you know, because I had the surgery on the thing first because I thought I had maybe a hernia. You know, they thought I had a femoral hernia, you know, my right groin. And so they were like, well, maybe, but, you know, we don't know until we get in there. We'll check it out. And we did the surgery. You know, and I woke up and he was like, it wasn't a hernia. It was a lymph node. We got clear margins, sent it off to pathology. And I still didn't think anything was connected to my rectum and this and that. And so I went and I had an appointment, you know, a couple of days later for the proctologist. And, you know, within the first, like, you know, meeting him and drop my trowel, and he looks it up. And he's like, hey, so, you know, pathology? And I was like, I ain't got it back yet. And he's like, man, like, you know, that's the first, you know, cancer, you know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, these are connected. You know what I'm saying? What? You know what I mean? And, you know, I was just like, you know, left there, you know, and it was later that afternoon or the next day. And that's when they're like, you know, I get the call and stuff. And so, you know, make an appointment, get the ball rolling. But bro, I was just made a conscious decision. I was like, dude, like, I'm not ready for this. You know what I'm saying? I ain't going to let this happen. You know what I'm saying? And if I mean, Lord knows what's going to happen, but if I'm going to make it, you know, I'm going to, you know, try to figure out a way to get back. But it was just like, man, I got so much gratification, you know, as I started to tell my story and started to look into, you know, all the detail of it and everything, you know, because I wasn't paying attention to all the detail when I was going through it. I was just trying to live, you know what I mean? So I was going into survival mode. And so that survival mode meant, like, you know, like I had to just be like, you know, who I had to be and do what I had to do. And, you know, and then, but there was no like recovery book, you know what I'm saying? And so like the whole, you know, figuring out my new path, you know, is a whole new thing for me compared to like, you know, what my main thoughts in terms of like how I want to spend my life. What do I want to do with my time? You know, I mean, I had wrote down, there's a list of probably 25, you know, a good 25 events between rare advocacy groups, the different cancer groups, you know, ASCO, you know, the ASCO, the AACR, the American Association of Cancer Research, SITC, the Society of Immunotherapy Research, the SMR, Society of Melanoma Research, all these different events and things that are, you know, just throughout the country, just to say some, you know, and then also the different events throughout the foundations, you know, with the Melanoma Research Foundation and with the Melanoma Research Alliance. I mean, there's this one section I was like, dude, I could spend like 3 weeks in Washington to just straight up, you know, between the two, you know, between rare advocacy week, you know, which is like the end of February, and then also advocacy days, you know, on the Hill with the MRF, and then the scientific retreat with the Melanoma Research Alliance, like boom, 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 you know, and then all the other different events, you know, but to where I could go and like share my story, you know, at all these different ASCO events. You know, I would have went this year, bro, but like finances, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It was like, you know, I'll definitely try to, you know, definitely go next year, you know what I'm saying? But I was like, you know, you know, I understand, you know, to build what I'm trying to build. I mean, I had to do it from scratch and stuff. And so, you know, it's a lot of different, you know, things than trying to just get involved in, you know, where I can and how I can. And so it was like, you know, running fundraisers and being on advocacy boards and participating in peer review groups, like the CDMRP and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Getting involved with your support groups through Facebook, you know what I'm saying? Being like a peer contact, you know, I'm a peer contact.
The fact of the matter is how many other people in your circumstances at your age have gone through the entire thing like you have. My guess is that has to be like, you know, I mean,
not many. That's what I'm trying to figure out. You know, that's kind of my thing, dude. It's like I really just I want to get a group together with, you know, the young survivors, and the thing is, you know, the clinical trial I went through, you know, the drug Lifiacil, you know, through Iovance, man. I mean, it's going through BLA approval through the FDA right now and everything and stuff. And so, you know, even through Iovance's latest press release was saying, you know, they're still on track, you know, for it for the FDA to have it approved and, you know, to be accessible, you know, some point later this year. I mean, if that could happen, I mean, that's just gonna increase, you know, just the survival rate, like across the board for so many things, because not just for, you know, my specific cancers, but all these other cancers it goes with, like cervical cancer and things. I mean, dude, it's insane.
Suspicion. I don't have any evidence for this claim, but I mean, I imagine if I did some cursory internet searches right now, I could dig some up. But I just got this gut feeling that things that are cancerous causing in nature are only increasing in this world. So I have this horrible gut. I have this horrible gut feeling. I have a horrible gut feeling that the age in which you see stuff like your situation, I think, sadly, because of the way we run this world and the things we put into it and everything underneath. I mean, nature is already trying to give us cancer, and then we're adding things to it to kind of expedite that. You know what I mean? Like we come stock model trying to, you know, with avoiding cancer, like right when we're born. Like that's something everyone's going to have to contend with. But then you get in a world filled with all these different things, the stuff companies put in the air, the stuff companies want you to eat, the stuff, you know, companies want, all this stuff.
It's like, what can, you know, there's all these things, but it's like, you know, what can you yourself control? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so it's like, control what you can. And so it's like, you know, if you believe that living in one area is going to give you like a healthier air and water,
if you have the ability to do that area. Not everybody has the ability though to pick.
No, I know. I mean, but you know, and that kind
and then
of,
so they're at the behest of,
you know, or like your habits. You know what I'm saying? Like stop
they're at the behest
processed stuff and stop. You know.
Right. But then that brings up the conversation of like where food deserts exist, and then some people only have access to like horrible food selection.
Just simple terms. I'm not talking, you know, I'm just in general.
Right.
I'm just talking about just, you know, mindset. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah, for sure.
Basically, it's like if you got a goal and you want to be somewhere, you know, you figure out, hey, that's what I want to do. How do I get there? And then you just kind of reverse engineer it. You know what I'm saying? In a sense, you kind of like, you know, figure out, you know, write it down, I guess, you know what I'm saying? But like, here's ultimately where I want to be. And then what would be like, you know, the last step that happens before this? And then what would be the one that happens before that? You know, write down what you do know, and then try to figure out what are the things that come in between. You know what I'm saying? And then literally you could plan out like, you know, here's ultimately what I want to be. And like, you know, you know, it won't just happen necessarily overnight, but, you know, if you really like, you know, put in the work, I guess, you know, to do it full time, you know what I'm saying? Like, it takes a lot of energy, dude. Like, I'm the
I'm the worst. I'm like, I have either a procrastination problem or a or a or a
No, I
or
hear
some
you.
sort of
I hear you.
it's a procrastination issue. I don't even know, what I'm saying? Or no, it's a procrastination problem or an execution issue. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
Or, I don't know. You know what I mean? But it's
with
like,
you,
man,
but
I keep telling myself, okay, I'm gonna do this, and man, I'm doing it, and then it's like, one of the things I keep telling myself is I'm gonna do more reels, and I'm starting to do some more reels, but I need to do more reels to where it's like I hold my phone up and then I say some, wisdom of Chris, you know what I mean? That has to
yeah.
do with whatever, and I just keep it simple, and then boom, and then that way, I create a series of those, and it's just like, that those, tell stories over time or whatever. I don't know. I mean, stuff like that, but I'll just, I'm like, all right, I need to, I guess, write it out and like, do this and then just execute it, and then make it happen. You know what I'm saying? Because, you're right. Like,
Yeah, I mean, from the
that's,
individual standpoint about getting moving, that's definitely the logic
it's like
behind it.
telling your story, I think, is like the number one thing you can do to raise awareness for anybody, because, nobody's gonna know unless you say anything.
The number
That's just
one
a
problem,
fact.
I
You know
think,
what I mean?
in
Like,
general, the number one problem, in terms of this, in terms of society and self-reflection within society and analyzing where we stand as individuals in societies that we live with and participate with, it's kind of like, shit, I don't know where I'm just kind of going with that, but it's kind of like, where was I going with that?
I do that all the time.
Yeah, I know.
It don't matter.
It doesn't matter. It'll come to me in a second. But I think